We all know our porches can take a beating. When it comes time to evaluate your maintenance project, you'll want to see if you can get away with just pulling up 1 or 2 boards and replacing them with new, or perhaps it's time for an entirely new porch deck.
If you opt to just replace a few boards, start by using a skill or reciprocating saw and set the blade depth. This is very important since you do not want to cut into the skids or the insulation below the decking. Make the 2 cuts down the length of the pieces you are replacing. It's okay to cut the tongue off the boards you are removing. This will make the boards pop out easier. Next, take out the screws. They may be either face or blind nailed. If your deck is tongue and groove, the screws will probably be blind nailed. The boards should be ready to come out. You can use either a pry bar or even a sledgehammer to knock the boards out, whichever is easier for you. Take a quick look to see if any additional nails need to be removed. Sweep or vacuum any sawdust or other debris out before you replace the board. Using a sledgehammer, start to wedge in a new board. Make sure to cut the board extra long because it may split and break at the end while you are pounding it into place. Once in place, it is time to varnish. This is done with polyurethane with UV inhibitors in it. Put it on thin and let it dry for about 6 to 8 hours. Rub the board down with a scouring pad to remove any loose wood particles. Then use a tack rag to pick up any dust. Put on at least 4 coats of varnish using a scouring pad and tack rag between each coat. This process will produce a smooth finish. Don't worry about the new varnish looking brighter than the old. In about a month or so, it will look very similar to the rest of the floor. The last step is to put down anti-slip tape. This will help to keep the guests from slipping when the floor gets wet. You may determine that the floor does not need a full replacement, and a good sanding and refinishing will get the job done. Whether your problem area is on the porch deck or the interior cabin floor, the process is the same for the tongue and groove floors. When sanding, you don't need to use a belt sander on the floors. A 7-inch right-angle sander grinder with 36 grit works great. The key is to use zirconium oxide blue disc. This makes the job much easier. If you are sanding the deck, start by the porch posts, moving up and down the length of the board. Continue until you get the old finish off. With the interior floor, you may only need to sand the high traffic areas around the door. It's fine to just do a portion of the floor. You do not need to sand the whole floor. The new varnish will blend into the old look within a month or so. If you do decide to do the entire interior floor, be prepared for a mess. The dust will get everywhere, so make sure you remove everything possible from the cabin before you begin sanding. This includes the beds, mattresses, and curtains. To clean up the dust after sanding the entire floor, it may be easier to wash down and let it dry for a few days. Once the sanding is complete, it's time to varnish. Use the same process we did earlier in the video. Varnish, scouring pad, tack rag, and repeat about 4 times. Replacing the porch decking, sanding, and staining the floors will make your cabin look years newer. If you have any additional questions about repairing and replacing decking and the interior floors, including specific materials and products that are recommended, please contact Prairie Craft Specialties or the KOA Home Office.